Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 793. Well, today, oh my goodness, are we talking with an entrepreneur? We are talking with an incredible agricultural entrepreneur, and he is just a sophomore in high school. There is so much background that comes to this story. I just have no way to even describe it to you in an introduction. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to jump into this interview with Mujtaba Raja, Raj Raja, as he goes by, and let him tell the story. There was so much more I wanted to ask him. I could have gone on and on and on. I'm going to let him tell his story coming up here in a moment, but what an inspiration for entrepreneurs everywhere. Here we go. Joining me today is Mujtaba Raja, and he is coming to us from Southern Guilford High School in Greensboro, North Carolina, and this young man is raising a lot of animals. I'm eager to find out more. Raj, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's an honor to be invited to your podcast.
Well, thank you very much. You came highly recommended by your ag advisors there at Southern Guilford, so I really appreciate them reaching out and letting me know all the cool stuff that you're doing. I'm looking forward to finding out more about it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I always start off my interviews by asking my guests about just about them, so our audience can kind of get to know who they're listening to, and then later we'll talk about what they're doing for their supervised agricultural experience and things like that. Is it okay with you if I ask you some questions about you?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, how old are you now?
Currently, I'm 15 years old.
Okay. And that makes you, are you a sophomore?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, when you're not at school, when you're at home, are you living on a farm? Are you living in a town, or something kind of in the middle of those two?
Yes, I'm living on a farm in the middle of a town.
Okay. So explain that to me. Explain to me how it all works, being on a farm in the middle of town. How does that work?
So we bought a house, and the plot behind it that they used to raise soybeans on was right for sale.
Okay.
So we went ahead and bought it. It's just shy of 64 acres, and that's how we started our farm. It is a plot and then the house.
Got it. Okay. So, and that's in town or in the city limits?
No, we're actually in the county limits.
Okay.
Really close to city limits.
Really close to town, right on the outskirts. Okay, very cool. So you've got some land to work with.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very cool. Now, we're calling you Raj. That's what you go by. But your first name is Mujtaba. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So where does that originate from? That's the first time I've heard that name.
Mujtaba is a name from Saudi Arabia, which means the chosen one.
Okay.
And Raja, my last name, is an Indian name, which means like a king or a prince.
Okay, very cool. Now, in your family, you are the first generation born in the U.S., correct?
That is correct.
So your parents immigrated to the United States from where?
From Pakistan.
Okay. So what led to that? Why did they leave and come all that distance to live here in the United States?
They wanted a better future for me with all the war and fighting going on around there. They wanted a better future for me and my siblings. So before I was born, they moved to America planning on having me born.
Gotcha.
And then I was born in America.
Okay. So how long before you were born did they come?
They came, I think it was 5 or 6 years before I was born.
Okay. And were they involved in agriculture back in Pakistan?
No, they had not. My grandpa was a state official, so they had nothing to do with agriculture.
Nothing to do with it. Okay. So how long have you been involved with the FFA now?
This is my second year. I recently came from New Jersey 2 years ago where we had no agriculture classes at all.
Okay.
So it's a big change, and we went on it all at once.
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask you if you had done 4-H, but maybe you hadn't if you came from New Jersey and there was nothing like that. Did you happen to do 4-H prior to FFA?
No, there was none in my county in New Jersey.
Okay. So then the next question is, how did you get involved in the FFA?
Since I was little, I've been watching videos about farmers, and I always loved every part of it. And it's just like almost like a siblinghood in FFA where everyone can just be like one person, and everyone's here to help each other, and it just works together.
And so did that have anything to do, like your desire to be involved with farming, did that have anything to do with your folks moving from New Jersey to North Carolina?
Yes, that was some of the part of it. We wanted a much more open space to keep to ourselves.
Uh-huh.
And therefore we can put animals on it, and it could just be a healthier lifestyle for all of us.
Okay, very cool. That's very awesome that your parents saw that you had that desire, and they found a way to facilitate that. That's great. So how long? So it's been 2 years since your parents moved from New Jersey to North Carolina, or just over 2 years?
Yes, it's almost hitting 3 now.
Okay. And then the farm that they bought, was that the first place that you lived, or did you live somewhere else in North Carolina first and then just recently moved to the farm?
No, as soon as we bought the house, there was a huge soybean farm right behind it. And
Okay.
as soon as they were for sale, we took the jump on it and went ahead and bought it.
Okay, very good. And so you had always been watching videos and you'd been interested in farming. So I guess, how did you get started? Do you remember what attracted you to farming and to watching these types of videos in the first place?
I have no idea what caused me. Ever since I was little, I loved to watch any Dr. Paul, Our Wyoming Life, any of the farming channels, and I was always in the outdoors. And we had, in my 2-mile town of Boonton, New Jersey, we had about a quarter acre of woods with a little stream on it. Mm-hmm. And I remember there used to be bass that went through the tunnel, not the tunnels, but the water tunnels for them to go to make sure our towns doesn't flood. And I remember catching bass with my friends in that, and that just inspired me to be more outdoors. And then that's what started me off with being a more outdoors person. Growing up in New Jersey, it's very city, mm-hmm. and you learn how to be a businessman, and that's about it.
Okay. So you found a way, even if it was just a small little patch of woods, to be engaged in the outdoors.
Yes, that's correct.
That's great. And then somewhere along the line, you discovered these shows where you could learn about farming even though you didn't have farming around you.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then when you got to North Carolina and there was this land for sale behind your home, were you just kind of chomping at the bit, just telling your parents, we've got to get it, I want to start my farm now?
Yes, that was the immediate reaction, just that.
Okay. And then did you join the FFA as a result of them getting this land and you wanting to be part of agriculture, or how did that all work? How did you even find out about the FFA chapter? Maybe we'll start there.
So I had horses for my first year of FFA. 2 months into FFA, we bought the farm. Mm-hmm. And before FFA, I was always interested in FFA because I wanted to meet people who are also interested in the agriculture community like I am. Okay. And I joined FFA, and then I learned about everyone who's cow farmers. Some people bale hay, mm-hmm. and then I found so I've always been into agriculture, but FFA really hired the ranks for me. Okay.
And then after your parents bought the farm, how long was it until you put your first animals out there?
It was immediately in that first week. We got a fencing company to come out there. The first thing we got were chickens, mm-hmm. and we didn't just go for 10 chickens like everyone else. I bought 50 chickens, and they started incubating their own babies, and now we're at 150 plus chickens just flying around our property. They're game chickens.
Okay.
And I started with poultry.
Started with poultry. Okay, very good. And then are you responsible for the entire 64 acres, or is a part of it yours, and is the rest of it being still farmed in soybeans?
In its entirety, I am responsible for everything.
Is that right? So you had the whole thing fenced, or are you doing some crops on it as well?
No, everything is fenced.
Okay, so everything is fenced, and it's all livestock.
Yes.
Okay, fascinating. Fascinating stuff. Okay. Very interesting. Well, let's do this. I need to acknowledge a couple of my sponsors, Raj, and I want to acknowledge your FFA advisors who have been so kind to set up this interview. Would you mind letting everybody know who those people are for you?
Yes, I will.
All right, go ahead. Who are those folks?
My advisors are Brad Hensley and Haley Peeler. the best advisors anyone could ask for. Always there to help whenever you need help, and anything you need, they're always there for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for acknowledging them, Raj. I really, really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, I want to acknowledge a couple of our great sponsors, and start off talking about Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment, everybody. They make just the absolute best livestock handling equipment for your large livestock, for your cattle, whether it is squeeze chutes or alleyways, calf tables, sweep tubs, panels, whatever you need to handle your large livestock, you can find it at powderriver.com. And I'll tell you what, they started this company well over 80 years ago out here in the West, dealing with some of the most difficult to handle cattle you can find coming in off of public land. And they built this equipment to handle those cows. And certainly if they can handle those cattle, well, they can handle yours. We've got Powder River right out in our farmyard, squeeze chutes, panels for our cattle, and we hope you will too. Check them out at powderriver.com. And then everybody, I want to make sure and mention Lacrosse Footwear. You can find them at lacrossefootwear.com. Just so thrilled to have them as a sponsor of this show, and always just so thrilled to mention them during our FFA episodes, because Lacrosse Footwear is proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. And I'll tell you what, I've been using Lacrosse for well before we ever started the sponsorship. We use the Alpha Range boots here on our farm, and you just can't do any better for being dry, warm, comfortable, and sturdy. So please check them out at lacrossefootwear.com. All right, well, Raj, so you have a supervised agricultural experience through the FFA. What is that for you? What are you doing as part of your SAE?
For my SAE this year, I raised 70-day-old broilers, which I ordered online for $1.35 each. I fed them a cheap source of protein that I only got for $11 a bag, and then I sold each bird for $10 or $12, depending on if it was butchered or live weight. I spent about $219 on everything and ended up making more than 2 times that as profit.
Awesome. Good for you. So how did you find your customers? How did you find the people that were going to buy your birds?
I am the administrator of a couple Facebook groups in my area, and I posted a lot on that, and I also posted on Craigslist. Most of the people that didn't come from Facebook groups came from Craigslist.
Awesome. Now, how did you get involved being an administrator on a couple Facebook groups? Did you create the groups, or is this something that somebody invited you to be an administrator of?
One of the groups I created was NCSCTA and BN, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, TN, and Virginia. And that almost has 300 people in it already now.
Okay.
And I also worked with someone to create the NCVA Farm and Livestock group. And I was requested for a bunch of other groups because I post a lot on lots of groups, just beneficial information.
Okay. So you're really active on social media.
Very active.
And so you were able to market all of your chickens either through Facebook or through Craigslist and get them all sold, all those broilers.
Yes, every single one of them.
Okay, very cool. Wow, that is great. Now, had you ever done anything? Had you ever created a product and sold it or done your own business prior to doing this?
No, I have done, the only business I have done before is investing. I've invested in a friend's CNC machine and got 15% profit off of that, which helped me start buying the broilers and everything they needed for them.
Okay, very good. Where did the idea to start the broiler business come from?
I wanted something efficient, simple, easy, and not too time-consuming. So I thought the easiest thing we could do around here is broilers. Okay.
Now, obviously, in the FFA, you've got a few options, right, with your SAE. You could have done a placement where you could be working for somebody else or on your own farm for your folks. You could have done research, or you could have done entrepreneurship. Why did you choose entrepreneurship?
I like being my own boss. When I grow up, I'd like to be the boss of many farms and just be a CEO. And I don't like don't get me wrong, I enjoy working with other people, but I like doing what I want to do most.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like an entrepreneur to me, Raj. Okay, so really cool. Now you've got a ton of animals on your farm. I've got the notes here from Mr. Hensley when he emailed me, but why don't you give us the list? How many different animals and livestock animals are you raising there?
I have over 150 and counting chickens, and they're game hens, and they just produce on their own, and they incubate their eggs. They go broody under trees, and I wake up some days, and there's just 6 chicks under a mom hen, and the rooster comes after me, so I back up really quickly.
Okay, and then are all those birds going for meat production, or are you selling some eggs as well?
I sell hatching eggs on eBay as well.
Okay.
For $17 a dozen.
Okay, awesome. So hatching eggs. So explain to me that part of the business. So I guess what's your window where you need to get the eggs collected so people can still put them in an incubator and get a chick from them? How quickly do you have to find those eggs and collect them?
So those eggs have to be found within a week. Even though 2 weeks is the chick stays alive for 2 weeks, you want the best hatch rate is going to be within the week and ship it out.
Okay, so
that week.
So you want to find it, get it stored, keep it. I don't know. You're keeping it warm before you ship it out? Is that right, or can it stay cool?
Yeah.
Okay, so keeping it warm, and then you get it shipped so people can get it into their incubators within that first week of it being laid. Somewhere in there would be ideal.
Yes, it could be cold or it could be warm. That doesn't really make a difference.
Okay.
Just don't want it under 33 degrees.
Okay, so you don't want it under 33 degrees. Very interesting. Now, so we talked about the chickens. What else are you raising there?
I have guineas, turkeys, and that's about it with the poultry.
Okay.
As well as Coturnix quail. Forgot about those.
Okay. Now, are the guineas and the turkeys and the quail, are they all free-ranging across the entire place as well, or do you have them in pens?
The quail are in pens, and the Coturnix eggs people buy locally from me because they're supposed to be better for you than our chicken eggs.
Okay. So
and the turkeys are just free-range, as well as the guineas.
Okay. And so and what kind of eggs were those? Did you say Coturni?
Coturnix quail.
Coturnix quail. And so that's kind of a niche market. People want those eggs?
Yes, and Coturnix quail, when you hatch them, they get full size within 6 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And laying eggs.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, and then the turkeys, are you selling turkeys as meat birds to people?
No, these turkeys are just free range. They're royal palm turkeys, and they just look beautiful around the farm.
Okay. So they're adding to the ambiance of your place.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Now, go ahead.
I have 13 horses.
Okay.
And these horses are rescues from Ashboro Kill Pen.
Okay.
And some of them are off-the-track thoroughbreds, and some of them are just regular quarter horses. And these were going to get slaughtered and shipped out if no one was to buy them, and they're really close to kill date. So I went ahead and bought as many as I could.
Okay, so when you're rescuing these horses, you still have to purchase them.
Yes, the purchase fee is around $800 to $1,100 each horse.
Okay, all right. So how many horses did you say you have?
13.
So that is a big investment right there.
Very, very not much of an investment, but it's when you were able to, it's good to help.
I understand.
You're going to get provided with more.
I understand. So they're not an investment because there's not a return coming on that. They were simply you being very generous in rescuing them.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, what do they do? Are you training them? Are they simply just there to enjoy their life there and for you to enjoy having them, or how does that part of it work?
They're just living out the enjoyments of their last days. They're all at least 16 to 18. My oldest horse is 23.
Okay.
And they're in their senior years.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going down the list. What else do you have that's got 4 legs?
Over 40 goats.
40 goats.
I have over 40 goats, and they're mixed. Some are Boer, some are Nubian, Alpine, and Nigerian Dwarf.
Okay.
I milk the Nubian does and the Nigerian Dwarf does and I sell the milk for about $16 a gallon. And I have more sales than I can count as of now.
Do you need more goats? Or can you produce enough milk for everybody who wants to buy it?
I do need more goats, but I also need more time to keep milking them. I hand milk every single goat.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not going to work out.
Yeah, so you've got to be busy. Are you milking twice a day?
I only milk once a day, and I let the baby nurse the morning times, and I milk at nighttime.
Gotcha. Okay.
Around 4 to 6 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, now
I also have...
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
I also have 3 Holstein cows, which I raise as bottle babies.
Okay.
2 steers and a heifer, and they add to the beauty. They match the royal palms.
Okay.
And 11 donkeys.
And 11 donkeys. Now, are these rescues as well?
3 of them were rescues, and the other ones I bought for beauty, and they have had babies and more babies than I can count. So I do have 2 jacks for sale as of now.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Now, I saw on this list there's a monkey listed. You got to tell us about that.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
There's a koi pond I have native frogs come and lay their eggs to help sustain the natural population, as well as turtles.
Okay.
And I have a hamster. I have over 20 pigeons. These are Homer pigeons, and they are banded, so these are racing pigeons. And one of them is one of the champions' second sons, the champion that won from Africa the eggs were imported here. This was a born from Tar Heel Pigeon Club that they race, and I bought off of them.
Okay.
And then I have a cockatoo, a sulfur-crested cockatoo, that I hand-fed as a baby. And then I have the coolest thing, a marmoset monkey.
Okay, very cool. My goodness. So some exotic animals, too, between the cockatoo and the monkey for sure. So tell me about this. How do you get a monkey in North Carolina?
So one of my greatest friends, Allison Peeler is her name. Allison, she runs Liberty Acre Exotics, and she's a horse rescuer.
Okay.
And she has kangaroos, zebras, ostriches, emus, camels, foxes, bats, anything you can imagine. She has spider monkeys, and she has a lot of animals.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me about this website, Exotic Animals for Sale auction, and there was a monkey down in Florida which was 2 weeks old to be hand-fed for $4,000, and we had to jump on the opportunity. So we went down there and we picked him up, and she's 14 weeks old now,
mm-hmm.
and she's almost finished. She only drinks milk in the morning and at night, and she's going to be an asset because she will have babies eventually if I can find a stud monkey.
Uh-huh.
And those babies sell for around $4,000 to $5,000 each.
Interesting. So you're entrepreneurial. You're very business-minded when it comes to your love for animals and for livestock.
That is correct.
That is great. Well, I mean, that's a big investment to buy this monkey for $4,000. I'm glad to see that you're looking down the road and seeing a return on the investment.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about some big numbers for investing in the donkeys and the horses, the monkey, and other animals as well. Are you receiving some support from your parents to help you make these initial purchases and get you started, or how are you funding this?
My parents help with taking me places, with loading the trailer up, getting me supplies, driving me places.
Uh-huh.
But for the most part, I fund everything by myself.
So how did you get your initial seed money to get this started and to be able to spend this much money on animals and livestock?
So 2.5 years ago, my German Shepherd, registered German Shepherd, that was our family's dog,
uh-huh.
that I took over because I fed her twice a day and did everything she needed for her.
Yeah.
I found a registered stud German Shepherd that was also from Randolph County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And she gave birth to 9 babies, which sold for $1,200 each.
Okay.
that's where the initial money came from. My parents bought the land, but the dog that gave birth to 9 puppies was where the initial money came from to start buying animals and investing into more.
Wow. So you've got an amazing mind for generating capital because you saw that opportunity way back then.
Yes, that's correct.
That is awesome. So good for you. So you found a way to turn your family pet, the dog I'm sure you love, into an asset, and then she produced the puppies. They all went to people who want them. Maybe they're even working. They might be involved in law enforcement. I don't know. And you made money back from that, and that has allowed you to do a lot of good and rescuing animals as well as building your farm business.
Yes, that is correct.
That is really amazing, Raj. That's fantastic. I'm very proud of what you've done, and honestly, a little bit jealous. You've got a great mind for this.
Thank you.
You bet.
To also help fund the farm, I try to get when in the springtime, goat prices go really high, and in the wintertime, goat prices drop. So when the springtime comes, so in the wintertime, I buy as many goats as I can. They're only $50 to a big billy is about $50 in the wintertime.
Okay.
And in the springtime, that same billy could go for $300 to $500 depending on the billy.
Interesting.
So I also do that, and hay prices aren't as much when you store them in the spring. And so over the winter to the spring, I put a bunch of billies in a lot, and does and whatever else I can get my hands on in the wintertime.
Okay.
And I save them until springtime, and then springtime I list them, and they hit the market, and they get out so fast. I have people left and right wanting to buy them because for some people, $400 in spring is cheap for a goat.
Is that right? Wow. So you're buying them when? Around December or January?
Around November.
Around November. Okay, so they're going very inexpensive then, and then you're feeding them hay, or do you have enough grass there on your farm to get them by during the winter?
They do get fescue hay as well as grain.
Okay. And so you're putting a certain amount of feed back into them, but then when the market goes up, you're able to make a profit off of those goats that you just bought a few months earlier.
Yes, that is correct. A lot of profit.
Oh, that is great. Good for you, man. So how did you figure out those price fluctuations?
Well, I've been looking at the Siler City, where they release all the prices for a while, and I've noticed for the last year it goes down, and all of a sudden it spikes, and then it goes down, and in August and September it spikes again, and in November it goes down. So when in August there's a festival in the Asian community where they butcher a goat or two in this around August.
Yeah.
And that's when the prices are spiking high, and then all of a sudden all the goats are bought, and then nobody wants any more goats, so the price drops.
Okay.
And that's when I come in and buy as many as I can get my hands on, and then save them. And then here comes March, April, and half of them are kidding as well. And right back up the price. I make more profit than any other thing I could in this flipping right here.
Very interesting. So are you buying your goats at the livestock auction?
Yes, that is correct.
And then are you selling them at the auction, or are you selling them direct off of the farm?
Both. Auction seems to make a little more money than does direct off the farm, but to help out some people, I do sell them right off the farm.
Wow, really cool. Really interesting, Raj. So I want to ask you, I mean, I know you're just finishing up your sophomore year now, so you got 2 years of high school left, but where do you see yourself going after high school? Have you given some thought to what you want to do and where you want this to take you?
So I know I do want to be a veterinarian, but I don't know if I'd like to sit 10 years in the classroom.
Yeah.
But I also know I'd make an excellent entrepreneur, and I do want my own business, but that comes with just knowing how to go that path, which you need to learn from advisors like we have here.
Right.
And then I'm not really. I know I definitely want to have a lot to do with farming, and I know in the future I'd like to be the CEO of large farming companies. But I'm not really sure yet.
Very cool.
I really want to be a veterinarian as well, but
Well, it's all out there for you, and you've got time to figure that out, right?
yes. And I've also thought about opening a glass viewer butchering house.
Okay.
Where people could see where their meat comes from, because most people, when you're not talking about like meat in the FFA, but when you're talking to, say, kids in the cafeteria when you're sitting with our friends, and you mention like, oh, you have to butcher some cows for customers or so, and they say, oh my God, you cannot believe you killed a cow. Well, it's heartbreaking to them that there's no meat fairy that just delivers the meat to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That has to be known.
Right. Yeah, very interesting idea. Okay. Well, Raj, I want to ask you before we wrap it up, just for other students out there who are looking at, I don't know, they've got big ideas like you do, but they don't have money to get it started. What advice would you give to them in terms of looking around at what's available to them, investing in something, and kind of generating that capital to get them started?
You have to look at the little things. The little things is what makes the most money. Right now, in Ohio and places like that, Rhode Island Reds, the big brown layer companies are selling the ones that aren't turning the chickens into glue are selling them for $1 or $2 a piece. And there's most people, if you go to your local farmer's market, the outdoor ones, they'll bring the chickens from Ohio and sell them in North Carolina and try to make a profit for about $4 or $5 a hen. If you buy that hen, then that's $5. You wait 2 months when all the hens that are $5 are sold. That hen will bring you about $10 with only you putting $1 in the feed.
Really cool. My goodness, you've got a great mind for this, Raj. This is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of this with us today. Super inspirational, and I'm just thrilled to hear about all these ideas.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks to Raj Raja for coming on and sharing that great information with us today. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.